Thanks everyone for joining us today. We are talking about packing tips. So if you have a packing tip to share, a packing challenge, as I call it, something you're struggling with, we're going to talk about that. As I mentioned just before we hit record, I'm heading to Egypt and I've never ever been there. And it's going to involve, flying and in smaller planes, possibly a Nile cruise, and lots of moving around. So I just feel like I'm going to want to pack fairly light, but also be able to have what I need. And as a photographer, sometimes I always often have to think about, how much of that photography gear and electronics to take around as well. So why don't we start with Betty Amon? Do you have a packing
Yeah.
tip to share?
Well, I'm going up to New York, up to the Adirondacks in about a week and a half. Family's up there and see the foliage. I want to see it so bad. So what I do is I take a suitcase and I put it in the spare room right on the bed. And over the next week and a half, as I wash and iron and do anything that I want to bring, I put it right by the suitcase. I've learned not to put it in the suitcase because I'll change my mind a million times. So I put it by the suitcase and I can just put it in when like a couple days before.
That's a good tip. I like that. It sounds kind of like what I do. Only it seems like I end up with a heap of things and then have to sort through them. But I like that process too. And I often, at least for myself, I try everything on, even if it's a pair of pants I think I've worn several times. It's amazing how, what was once comfortable last year's trip, now this year it's like it's tighter. It's maybe, I don't know, it's just not as comfortable. And if I have, if it's going to be uncomfortable, I'm probably not going to want to wear it. And then it's just taking up space in my suitcase.
Yeah, clothes tend to shrink year to year, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Deborah James, do you have a packing tip to share for the group or a packing challenge we can help you with?
Well, for my trip to London and Paris, I did like Betty said. I put the suitcase on the bed, and then I started uh, packing some things I knew were comfortable, and I knew it was possibly going to be cool in I thought Paris, but it ended up being around. So I have these jogging outfits that each one of them had a jacket to it. And so if I wore it and I got too warm, I could always take the jacket off and tie it around my waist. And I was very comfortable that way. One day I did wear shorts, but for the most part, that's what I did. And I tried to take the jogging outfits that could use the same color blouse.
Oh,
So
nice.
I had a black short sleeve blouse, and I wore that with two of the outfits. And then, of course, we were going to a play, a musical in London. So knew I needed something that looked dressy. So I had a little sparkly sweater, but I just had a plain uh, kind of like a t-shirt underneath that had some little sparklies on it and some black pants. And it was great. I wore those black pants twice with a
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and
That's a
it worked
really good,
perfect.
yeah, that's a good tip because you don't, sometimes if you think that you're going to have to go somewhere dressy or one or two meals, you still want to maybe be able to use the pieces, or like you
Right,
said, make sure the bottom is something that you're still going to wear maybe throughout the rest of the trip. And then if it's there's lots of lightweight little tops that maybe you can put over a tank top underneath or a t-shirt type thing and dress it up or dress it down. And
right.
maybe some simple costume jewelry. I know some people always wonder, like, should I wear real jewelry or should I just wear
Yeah.
my costume stuff? And I've gotten to where I really don't wear much jewelry or really, it's something that if I lost it or accidentally left it somewhere, eh, it's okay.
Right. Yeah. So I did, and I did a lot of rolling of the shirts. So that helped my suitcase not to be so heavy. And I just tried to pack as less as I could.
I like that. That's really
Well,
good.
one of the things that I follow that tip too, lay stuff out on the bed, but one of the things I always do is I pack two tops for each one bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to color coordinate so that if I change, and I do try on everything because some tops need, or some bottoms need a short top, and some bottoms you want to cover long tops so that it covers more. So I try everything on to see which two tops will go with this particular bottom. And to the extent that I can limit the number of different colors of outfits so that if I change my mind at the last minute, I do that. And I always pack like one or two long dresses. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Okay.
add a shawl if you want to dress up a sundress,
Mm-hmm.
and then whatever jewelry you want to wear with it. And then if it's without the shawl or a coat or a jean jacket, you've got a sundress. And sundresses tend to go upscale or downscale. And maybe one pair of shoes that are not necessarily heels, but maybe wedges, so that they look kind of dressy. And then at the same time, if you want to walk for hours, you've got something that's comfortable walking shoe that's still a little dressy so that you only need to take maybe a couple pairs of shoes. Those are things that I kind of do.
No, those are great tips, Betty. Nice. Let's see. Well, did you have, and you just shared, Betty, so that's great. Betty Beard shared. Lisa.
I am on Team Packing Cube all the way, and I roll inside of them. And I've been using them for so long that I don't understand people that don't get them. But that's just me. It's a personal preference, and I love them. I use them all the time. And another thing I do, because I am almost always carry on, even for 5 or 6 weeks. And so I'm really interested in Betty saying that for Egypt, you need a carry-on and a check bag. So Betty, I want to hear about that. But another thing I do, because I do carry-on, is I have a neck pillow that has a zip-off cover. And so I just take the pillow out and I stuff the cover with t-shirts and underwear and that kind of thing. So I get a lot in there. It's really surprising how much of those smaller things like t-shirts and smaller that are soft fabrics, and you can just put socks and underwear and t-shirts. So that helps me a lot with going carry on only. I guess that's my two main ones. I'm getting ready to leave the house here in 3 days. I'll be gone for 2.5 months. Not all of it overseas. A lot of it is just up near Seattle, dog sitting for friends, but I have not put one thing in a suitcase yet. So I need to get going on it. I do well under pressure, but I also tend to beat myself up for all those weeks that I don't do anything about packing. So I'm interested to hear some tips since I still haven't packed yet for my, I need one suitcase for the Seattle area where it'll be cold over the next few months, cold and rainy. And then traveling to a warmer place, I need a suitcase for that as well. So
Yeah, and I can't remember, was it Betty that just said you went to Egypt recently? Because we do need some Egypt tips.
Well, I went to Egypt a few years back. It was before the pandemic,
Oh,
but I went to Belize just this past July. Um, but one of the things that I also did was I bought one of those suitcase weight things so that I knew how much the suitcase weighed. And the reason why I said a check bag and a carry-on is because I never filled the check bag fully, because you inevitably want to buy souvenirs and you need a way to bring them back without having to pay extra again. So
gosh.
I always try to put maybe about 40 pounds in that larger bag, and then that gives me room to buy stuff and bring it back, and I still have space to pack it. And I just jam pack the carry on. Now sometimes though, on those little small planes, they will make you check those carry-ons, or if they are too big or too heavy. So you just have to check to make sure that even the carry-on will fit those smaller planes.
Right, exactly. So what do you have for us? I'm not sure. I would assume Egypt most of the time is fairly warm just because of where it is, but do you have
Yeah.
specific tips for Egypt? Only because I know a few of us are headed there in the next couple months and we could use some input on Egypt.
Well, um, Egypt, I went in October, so yeah, it was still pretty warm. I'm trying to remember. It's about the same weather as California, same time, because it's just about the same place on the planet, just different locations. So the weather is pretty much the same as in Southern California or, southern part of Florida. So think dress like that. It's
Okay.
warm most of the time, except that it's desert, so there's no humidity. Even along like I did the boat ride up and down the Nile, and we stopped at little villages along the way to do some sightseeing as well as visiting because we wanted to meet some of the Nubian folks and see some of the people from Egypt. But I wore light colors as opposed to dark colors, and like I said, I tried to. Uh, I don't know how many people have an issue with wearing white during, after Labor Day, but if you don't have a problem, white is probably one of your better colors because, you can layer it and and at the same time it doesn't, make you hot and sweaty because it's usually like linen and cottons, but no silks. Definitely don't. You don't want to carry silk clothes or clothes that are going to stick to you. You don't want a lot of even polyesters, so natural breathable fabrics. And it doesn't hurt to have like headbands so that, I don't know if you sweat. I know I do. So I wore headbands in those visor hats. I kept a white visor hat that you can wash, but it traveled for the beach. It on the boat rides when your hair is blowing all over the place and kind of hide some of your hair if you're having a bad hair day. So those
Hmm.
those white visors are good. I like those,
That's
and they go
okay.
with everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that.
that is a good tip. Elaine, I know leading trips to Morocco, I'm sure, you have tips for people going to international countries that, have maybe
Mhm.
dress things. Do you have some things you could share for us?
Sure. And I have a thought for you about Egypt too.
Oh, good.
Well, yeah, so I've been to Morocco 15 times now, so I have refined my uh, my packing quite significantly, although I was a minimalist packer before, so I never check a bag. I have a carry-on that fits under the seat in front of me. And although I don't promote brands, and I'm not even sure they make this combination anymore, but it's an Eagle Creek. And
Oh,
what I love about it is that this particular carry-on comes with a backpack that zips onto the front of the carry-on. So
wow.
now you basically have two pieces, but you can put them together as one. So we're getting older, and my point of view is we can't rely on other people to manage our luggage for us. And so my rule is, and it's the hard rule, it's those two pieces, and I can't take anything more than I can personally manage. So it is true that some airlines, like I fly Royal Air Maroc quite frequently, they have a generous checked bag policy. You can have two checked bags for free. So I will admit that sometimes, just for convenience, because it's a direct flight from Montreal to Casablanca, I'll check my bag on that flight because it's one less thing I have to manage on the plane. But it does mean that I always pack those two pieces, assuming that the stuff in my pack is what I'm going to be using in flight, if anything. I do roll everything, and I don't know why that's magic, but it really is. Somehow things take up so much less space when you roll them. Don't know why. So for you, April, going to Egypt, I don't know. I've never been there, so I don't know what the sand is like. But when I go to Morocco, a lot of the sand is red, so I never take white pants. I will take a white top, maybe. I mostly take beige or black pants, or dresses that are beige, black kind of thing, because the red sand stains.
Oh.
And so, yeah, and
It
so
doesn't stain in Egypt. I've never seen red sand before.
okay, so that's good to know. But if you're in a place where you're wearing white pants, you might be surprised that it doesn't look like there's sand or dirt on what you're sitting on, even on a chair in an outdoor terrace or something. And then you get up or you go home and you look at those pants and, where did that come from? And it can be hard to get out. So I tend to go for things where you won't notice the dirt so much. And that, I suppose that's kind of a universal packing idea anyway, but I do tend to take things that won't show. I do take a lot of black. Even in Morocco, it's true that black can be pretty darn hot. And so if it's black, then it's going to be something loose. But I like black because, again, it doesn't show dirt and you can dress it up so easily. So even if I've done a walking tour through the Medina all day, maybe I'm not going to have time to change before I have to go out for dinner with people. And so that's where the shawl comes in, because suddenly you throw on a shawl and maybe some costume jewelry or different earrings, and that's all it takes to make it look like you're dressed up. And those things take nothing in your suitcase. And again, my shawl tends to go in my carry-on because, or in my backpack that I use in the plane, because I find the planes are often cold and I'm often cold. And even if the airline gives you a blanket, sometimes I just appreciate that one little extra layer.
Yeah.
It does also help for modesty. So in countries like Morocco doesn't require you to cover up. As a Western woman, you're never expected to cover up like Moroccan women often do. Although again, that's changing. Not everyone does. But nevertheless, it's helpful if you want to wear like a strappy t-shirt or something like that. And that's going to be okay. But then if you go into a more conservative area, or if you go into a restaurant where it might be air conditioned and it might be cool, it's good to have something light and loose to throw on top. So it's good to check out those modesty requirements, but again, in Morocco, it's not required.
Yeah. In Egypt, it's not required, but if you do it, I found you get more respect if you are fairly modest.
Absolutely, because they like modesty for themselves. Right. So they do understand that we're coming from colder countries and the heat is often hard for us, but sleeveless, as long as you've got something loose or filmy or whatever to throw on top once in a while, they understand that. Cover your knees. You can still wear capris, but they appreciate it if you cover your knees. Right. That's where I like those loose flowing dresses, cotton dresses. They show nothing, not only dirt, but nothing of your body, which they appreciate. They hate it when you wear tight things, even if they're covering.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But again, in places, that see a lot of tourists or a lot of Europeans. So in Morocco, that's the big cities like Casablanca, Fez, Marrakesh, they see everything. And so even their own women are starting to adjust, and you'll see Moroccan younger women dressed what they would think is immodestly. And so things are changing there. But when you're a visitor, it's best to be a little more modest than not. The other tip I would have is most people are only going to see me for minutes or maybe hours or maybe a single day, which means if I wear the same thing the next day, nobody's going to know. If I'm traveling with somebody, yeah, maybe they're going to get bored with seeing the same 2 or 3 tops, but otherwise nobody else will.
Right.
So I think so that I wear one, the other one is washed and maybe still drying, and there's a third one sort of as an emergency in case. And one will be sleeveless, one will be short sleeved, one will be long sleeved. Oh. Maybe I'll take 2 or 3, either short sleeved or sleeveless, like some combination, but I almost always never take more than one long sleeved thing. So I use layers a lot too. You can put a short sleeve thing over a sleeveless thing and a long sleeve thing over both. And so that's helpful when you're dealing with multiple climates. So like even in Morocco, if I'm there for a couple of months or like 6 weeks, if it's like say October to end of November, there's going to be a climate change and it's going to be cool. So by the time it's mid-November or later, then I'm going to be looking for a, little puffy jacket. But there's one, and so really, in those two pieces that I have, which are really quite small, if you think that the one carry-on goes under the seat in front of me in a pinch, and the standard backpack, it's not a great big thing, it's just a standard backpack, because I have back problems, so I'm not carrying a lot here. That'll fit in the overhead bin too, and that's all I take. And yes, I bring back treasures.
Those are great tips, Elaine. And I kind of agree. You kind of need to be able to manage your own luggage. I think that's kind of important. You're more flexible, it kind of makes us more mobile.
I think one other thing, because I'm coming from Canada, it's almost always going to be colder here than wherever I'm going, depending, of course. But my general practice also is to wear the heaviest things on the plane. So I'm always wearing my long pants and my long sleeved top of whatever. If I'm wearing a jacket or carrying one, I'm probably carrying it with me. And I always wear my heaviest shoes, which are usually what I'm wearing for hiking or walking. So then I'm not packing a lot of shoes either, is really the fundamental point there.
Right. Yeah.
Elaine, I have a question. I read on some blog post that it's important going to Morocco. Oh, and I don't know if Egypt would be the same thing. To take a pair of wool socks if you're going to be out in the desert areas spending the night. But wouldn't you? I mean, hotel, you'd still be in a hotel, I would think. So I don't quite understand that.
Not necessarily. So when we take people to the desert, we like to go for 2 nights. We'll be coming from a big city, so it's a long drive. So the first night will be in a hotel. Any season, you're going to be warm enough and comfortable in the hotel. But the next night, we frequently take people into the tent camps. And of course, in the summer, please don't come in the summer, but if you're traveling in the shoulder season, so spring or fall, you're probably not. On the other hand, if you're going late November, December through February, it will be cold. And frequently we really counsel people not to go into the tent camps because it will be too cold. It can get down to freezing. And then you need more than socks. You need that puffy jacket. You need a toque and a scarf, and it's going to be cold because the tents are canvas. And there's no heating. So it's going to be cold. But some people are intrepid and they do want that experience, and it is wonderful, but that's not your best time. Okay. And as I say, in that case, socks are not going to be enough.
Okay. Thank you.
Elaine, Kathy Dunn put up a message. Is it the Warrior convertible carry-on that you have? That's the...
Okay.
It's probably in the chat, which we can look up some of the items since we're recording.
That looks like a newer version of exactly the thing I'm talking about. Very similar. Yeah. Mine is 10 years old now.
Which is great, because that speaks to how well it lasts then too.
It's a wonderful thing. I never, while somebody else is talking, actually, I'll just run and get it, and I'll...
Yeah, go get it.
But that looks like a newer version of what they have sold, and it's just unbeatable. Just unbeatable.
That's wonderful.
My mother bought luggage from Eagle Creek for her and my dad. And that's what I use for traveling. When I go to Lincoln or go to Alaska, that's what I was using. They do last. They're very You fit a lot in them.
I'll just run off for a minute.
Yeah, no worries. So Heather, did you have a packing tip to share or a packing challenge we can help you with?
What would be a package challenge that I should have remembered? Don't take extra meds with you when you go on a trip. April had to take me to the emergency to the ER in Alaska because I was running out of meds, thinking I would be going home on the 11th, which didn't happen. So that's something you might want to think about.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, count out extra meds, find a way, whether you use a day by day pack, but count out extra days because in your case too, Heather, you got delayed then as well and had to spend even more days before you got home.
And they had to give me more meds for some of them. And I left my checked luggage went home, but which was a bad thing. So then they close. So make sure that they take you off the flight. Make sure you take checked luggage with you.
All right, there you go.
That was my mistake.
Well, I only take my meds. I only put in my carry-on. There's no way I would ever put my meds in my check bag. The same with my camera or my jewelry. Those go in my carry-on, and at least one change of clothing goes in my carry-on. But I'm like Elaine. I wear my heaviest things on the plane. Even if I'm going someplace where it's cold, like when I went to Iceland. I wore my heavy coat, and everybody was looking at me like I'm strange at the airport in San Diego in July. But and I was wearing my hiking boots and long pants and long sleeves. But it worked out because it was cold when I got to Iceland. It was rainy and cold.
Yeah. And Kathy, did you have other packing tips you wanted to share? I know you have traveled extensively, so certain clothing items, or even if you want to share brands, I mean that's what we're here for, is to hear that certain things actually work. Because like Eagle Creek, I mean they've made a product that clearly lasts versus sometimes we think that, oh, well, I'll just go to TJ Maxx or Burlington, one of these cheaper places, and yes, you can replace your bag repeatedly or just make the investment on something that's really going to last.
Well, there's a couple things that I use specifically for travel, and one is some quick drying underwear.
Okay.
Pants. And I got them on Amazon, but it took me a while to find the ones that I really wanted. And so no matter how long my trip is, I take 7 pairs of underwear. And I wash them. And I take these travel little packets of laundry soap that I also got on Amazon that work great. They do a sink full of underwear and bras and maybe a top, very easily. I do also roll all my clothing and I put them into packing cubes. It doesn't save a lot of space using packing cubes, but it really, really helps with organization. And if you ever have to have your bag gone through by TSA, and I mean, they don't put things back when they go through your bag. They just, and then kind of semi-close the lid, and then it's up organize it. So I've had mine gone through twice. And I would, with the packing cubes, they just lifted out the cube, felt the cube and set it to the side, and put it back in. It was easy. And I'm also a proponent of nobody will remember what you wore yesterday or even the day before, even if you're with the tour group. So, wear things as long as you can. I can usually get 3, if not 4 days out of one top. If I don't have too many problems with spilling food on my front, that's usually my biggest problem. Yeah, so you don't need to take a new outfit for every day, and I usually take leggings that are cotton and polyester when I'm going to warm areas, and I have some corduroy leggings that I wear for cold areas.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds very helpful.
Well, the leggings are from Land's End.
Oh, nice. Do they still make them as far as you know? Yeah. So Lanta, maybe if you get a chance while someone else is talking, if you find it, if again, if it's sometimes you do, I agree. You have to buy something and try it. I have a couple of V-neck sweaters that are a mix of cotton, not cotton, wool and silk. So they're fairly really like tissue weight. And so, unless I'm going to somewhere that's really, really hot, if it's, 70s, because that's what I was wearing, and I'll wear that in New England or the East Coast over a little tank top and then a jacket over that if I need to. But if I, because it breathes, it's a breathable fabric. And since they're very lightweight, they were made by Express and they don't make them anymore. But I go on eBay and I find more of them, and just that seems to work for me. But that took a lot of trial and error of some sweaters just are too bulky, they take up too much room. You buy a pair of leggings. I've had brands that you wear them once and they stretch out, you get them home to launder them, and the waistband never comes back. So then it doesn't work so well.
And I take a lightweight raincoat. It's not lined. If I'm going someplace that it's cold, I'll just wear a warm top underneath it. But the one I have, I can roll up, and I have one of these little straps that hooks onto my fanny pack, so I can actually hang my raincoat on my side when I'm going out for the day. It's easy to grab and put on if I need it. It worked great when I went to Europe to go on a river cruise, and a lot of times, you'd look at the weather and it would say, it's going to be sunny, and then sure enough, some clouds would roll in. So whenever we went ashore, I would take my raincoat just in case. And it also works good for setting it down on grass and sitting on it if you want to sit someplace where the ground is kind of damp and not get wet.
Yeah, that's super smart.
I only use a fanny pack. I don't take a purse. And I wear my fanny pack on the front so that it's more secure. And it's one of those RF
the
RFID.
Yeah, and it also has steel cable through the strap and that kind of thing. I got that from eBags.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So if you want to,
I have another tip for those of you who are concerned about laundry on the road.
Yes.
So I have replaced my laundry jugs with this.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
this
that's the new stuff.
package of 32 laundry strips.
Oh, nice.
This is concentrated soap, and this will do 1 full load of laundry. You could cut, or you can tear it, which means that if you're just doing a sink load of laundry or something, you just dissolve this. So this brand is True Earth, and it's a Canadian brand, but I know that there are American equivalents. So I'd really encourage you to, first of all, ditch your plastic jugs and your liquid detergent.
Yeah.
And adopt these wonderful soap strips. But these are, to me, like, I have yet to travel with them, but to me, these are going to be a godsend for doing laundry on the road.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They're new. They just came out. Probably this year is the first time I've seen them. So yeah, that is a great idea.
Oh yeah,
I've been using them for about a year, so.
Yeah, now that you
I just use my regular soap.
Elaine, I'm going to look for some of those right away, because you're right. If you just have a one sheet, I mean, that's like a piece of paper. That'll just take up no space. That saves.
Well, exactly. And you don't have to worry about those little packets puncturing and ending up with soap all over. Or if you do use just your bar of soap, well, then you've got that wet bar that you have to pack somewhere. It's always messy.
I have mine in plastic.
Yeah. Well, and so here is a solution at last, where these dry little strips will just tuck into any little corner, and yet, you know, we can have quality laundry soap with this right there.
Yeah.
Elaine, did you find that in your regular grocery store, or is that an online purchase? Regular grocery store?
Yes. Yeah, there's a couple of stores here that
I bet Amazon would have something like that too.
I think you could find them in the regular grocery stores, because I've seen them advertised on TV. It's the new thing.
Oh, okay.
Nice, yeah. And Elaine, did you have a chance to grab your bag? Was it too
I did.
hard? Yeah, we'd love to see that. I love the idea of how it zips off the front like that.
So this is the backpack.
Oh, wow.
And I'll just put it on to show you that it's just a regular sized backpack.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's got lots of pockets, lots of capacity. April, I take my 35mm and my lens in the bottom of that. And then this is the carry-on.
Oh, wow.
So I'm trying to get that.
There, almost.
You can sort of see the rough size.
Yeah.
But it's the size of my torso, basically.
Right. Oops.
Yeah. And
oh, wow.
It's only like a hand width.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So Elaine, does it have 2 wheels, or is it a spinner?
No, it's got 2 wheels.
Okay.
But they're still rolling after 10 years, so.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been all over the world, Europe, Asia, and of course, Morocco and everything. And it's just indestructible. And so I can't tell you how happy I've been with that brand, even though, of course, you're right. It is an investment to buy it at the beginning, but I don't know. I don't see myself buying anything else anytime soon. So
yeah, it's paid off, but you know, after several trips and years, I mean, 10 years at least. Wow.
This will be when I'm traveling next, I'm taking my smaller, which is a hard-sided, well, maybe I'll take my larger, which is carry-on. But I also have that Fairview 40 backpack. I can't remember who makes it, but it's called 40. Fairview, and it's 40, I don't know, like milliliters, or
so it's very lightweight, in other words.
But it's a pretty good size. It must not be milliliters, because it must be size. But anyway, I know it's called a Fairview 40, and can take the place of it's official to be a carry-on size. So this will be my first time that I'm taking an actual carry-on, which I plan to put overhead, and then this the backpack which I plan to put underneath my feet.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good size backpack. Like I wouldn't want to use it every day probably, because it's like the size of a carry-on. So I like that. Like Elaine, yours looks like it gives you plenty of room, but it's not like the whole width of your back, which
Exactly.
is what this one is. This one is really nice. I mean, I've taken trips where that's all I take is my backpack and moving around. But so I'm trying it this year.
Well, Lisa, I would check with the airlines because they are restricting, at least to Belize, they restricted the size of the carry-ons now. So if that's a full backpack, and because I was thinking a carry-on and a personal, but one of my personal bags that I normally would carry was too big. So I had to get a smaller carry-on bag as my second, as my personal bag.
Yeah, this is officially it can be used as a carry-on. That's a call out though, because it's not, it's big to be a personal item. It is.
And that might be the problem because they allow one carry-on and one personal. And the personal has to be small.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I've started honestly like really checking with each airline because especially with these lower cost airlines, you're very right, Betty. Their idea of your personal item is very different than another airline where you can have an overhead bag and a full size backpack kind of thing.
Right.
And
this was Delta.
Yeah, right. I know. And I know that, again, especially as someone that carries cameras and stuff, I have to think it through because there's no way I'm going to let my camera be, gate checked or something like that. So,
yeah.
But I like the idea of someone said the dresses for Egypt too, because those would probably really roll down and smush up for.
Yeah. Plus, they were, like I said, they were cool, and you could dress them up or down.
Yeah, I like that. So who else?
If you're going to Southeast Asia, when you go to the temples, you have to cover your knees and you have to cover your shoulders and your upper arms, and you can't wear a low neck. So when I was there, I knew this ahead of time, but a lot of the people that were in my tour group didn't. And in the street markets and stuff, you can buy these very inexpensive, what they call temple pants.
Oh.
Are like a wraparound, very lightweight cotton slack that looks, with big wide legs, but it's a wraparound. And they're easy to put in your backpack and then put on over a pair of shorts if you're going to be stopping at a temple. It was so hot when we were there, wearing long pants all day long. It was kind of uncomfortable. And I looking back, I think I would have rather have done that than take leggings with me on that trip.
Good to know. Yeah.
They're so inexpensive, you could even just leave it behind when you came home. You could get a nice looking pair for less than $10.
Oh wow.
Elaine, back to Morocco. I didn't realize that. I thought that shoulders and knees had to be covered. So what about wearing like mid-thigh length shorts, or even a little bit longer, but still the knees are exposed? Is that better just to leave that all at home?
You can get away with them, just above the knee will be tolerated. What they really hate are those super short shorts where people's front and back cracks show,
Yes.
And you do get that. I've seen young women who think they need to make a fashion statement in a country like that, and that's not the place.
No.
They leave their midriffs bare. They have deep scoop necks with their underwear showing and bare arms and see through everything. That's what they don't like. But as I say, it's okay if your shoulders are bare, if you have something to throw over top. I mean, it's how you present the whole picture. Your shoulders can be bare, but it can be a relatively loose fitting top of some kind, and they'll forgive you for that because they know that you're just hot.
Yeah.
And as I say, I kind of go both ways where, okay, I'll wear a sleeveless t-shirt or something, but I will have a filmy top that's loose and flowing to put on top. And they take that as a negotiation, right?
What
They know
about
my
what about
shoulders are bare. My shoulders are bare, but they know that I'm trying to meet them halfway by at least covering myself so that I'm not, showing everything off.
what
I'm
about
trying to be comfortable.
what about at a hotel swimming pool or
Oh, good question.
if you're at the coast, something at the coast?
No problem.
Oh.
Those areas see so many tourists. So many Europeans have second homes in Morocco. And so they are used to, in the big cities, they're used to seeing everything. And that doesn't mean they like everything, but they will have more tolerance in those areas for Western style dress than they might in the conservative areas, like back up in the mountains, the tiny little villages, some of the places that just got destroyed in the earthquake, those conservative little places. And there it isn't even against Westerners. Like, there is going to be conflict even within some of those countries where young Moroccans growing up in the cities aspire to a more freer lifestyle that's more westernized, even though they still consider themselves true to Islam and good Muslims, right? And so I think we can look within our own Western religious traditions and see the same thing happening. There are the fundamentalists, and then there are the ones on the other side, whatever you want to call them, and then a whole bunch of people that float in between. And in a developing country like Morocco, most people float in between. I mean, I've been with families where the grandmother is dressed up to the eyeballs and the teenage daughter is in her Western shorts and sleeveless thing, and nobody hates each other. And the generations in between are variations of that. I remember my mom growing up in the 50s, who still wore a headscarf, to tie her hair back during the day to do housework. It's really no different than that, and it happens that the coats that they put on to go to the market cover their everyday clothes, and they happen to be long and loose flowing. So it's a style of dress more than it is a religious thing.
Got it. Yeah.
I see we're getting short on time, but I could say the same about turbans. People think that the practice of wearing a turban there has to do with religion. No, the turban is their tent, their picnic blanket, their jacket, their whatever, and it happens to be really convenient to just wrap it up and wear it on your head, because then your hands are free.
Right. Oh, we've had such good stuff today, you guys. So I will take any of the notes if you have some last minute things you want to put in the chat of items that have worked for you, or Kathy, if you feel comfortable sharing, the sleepwear or underwear that you mentioned, because sometimes it's hard, and it gives us a starting point. It gives people items that they can check out on Amazon, and we will pass that around. So this has been a really good discussion. Lots of good stuff. So I'll give, yes. No, I love that. I think that's an excellent one. And the bag was good, and just the idea of, things that do double duty. I'm always looking for those items that do more than one. And thanks for pointing that out about the soils, Elaine, too, because even, even if you're traveling here in the summer or in Europe, oftentimes I won't wear light colored pants for my bottom, even if it's 100, or even in Vegas, it gets dirty easy and it's a lot, so then that pair of pants is already done. I'm looking for something, if I sit down, it can, keep going and leave the light colored on top. So I like that. That was a great suggestion. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I'll send out some notes. This video will be available on YouTube probably by Monday or Tuesday, depending on how much time I have, since I'm heading out too. And again, thanks, guys. Hope you'll check out more. We'll post the events. And excuse me? I thought I heard
Have fun on your trip.
What?
Have fun.
Oh, yes,
Have
thank
fun
you. Yeah, thanks. So we'll talk again next month, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.